A Trinidadian Muslim group hits out at U.S. security officials over involvement in local anti-terror operation. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, February 15. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Head of the Islamic Front, Omar Abdullah, is lashing out at U.S. security authorities who assisted Trinidad and Tobago police officers in cracking down on people suspected of planning to disrupt the just-ended Carnival festivities. Abdullah, who has been pushing for the release of persons detained by police, said the U.S. should pay more attention to its own affairs following Wednesday's shooting at a Florida high school that left 17 people dead. He said that while U.S. officials failed to see the signs on the social media accounts of the shooter in that instance, it somehow saw signs that law-abiding citizens who happened to be Muslims had plans to disrupt Carnival in the Twin Island Republic. Several mosques were raided and several people arrested as police carried out their investigations into the alleged plot that foreign governments referred to as planned terrorism, even as local officials shied away from using that term. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley told the media that while the operation was 100% led by local police, they usually liaise with international partners, including the U.S., on intelligence. He also denied claims by the Muslim community that the government was engaged in ethnic and religious persecution. Rowley insisted that there was absolutely no policy or program to persecute any group, ethnic or otherwise, in Trinidad and Tobago. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Rowley says his government will be pursuing anti-gang legislation again. Last year, the police asked the government to take the bill to Parliament to help them get murders and gang activity under control. But the proposed bill failed last December due to lack of opposition support. Speaking at a media brief following a cabinet retreat on Wednesday, Rowley said that although security forces collected 1,000 illegal firearms last year, that didn't help the crime situation and efforts must now be redoubled, and he says the anti-gang law is needed.
We concluded that given the nature of the crimes, a significant portion of the crimes, a lot of it being revenge killings, gang protection of turf, gang activity of organizing of criminal conduct for profit, that we really do need anti-gang legislation to criminalize the action of gangs. And we will continue to pursue that because we believe that it will help the security services and it will dissuade a number of persons from choosing crime as a way of life.
Rowley says government has written the opposition, which has indicated its concerns about the bill. And he says he expects meetings will be held in the not-too-distant future so those can be worked out. In the Bahamas, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Housen Moultrie, on Wednesday won the support of government MPs who passed a vote of confidence in him. But he offered an apology after admitting to making hurtful comments towards the opposition leader last week. Opposition leader Philip Davies had originally tabled a vote of no confidence in the Speaker, but leader of government business Renard Wells moved an amendment to the motion on Wednesday, instead proposing confidence in the Speaker. But before the motion was passed, Davies harshly criticized the Speaker for suspending opposition MP Glenys Hannah Martin on January 31st and for his vile personal attack on him on February 7th. The Speaker had accused the opposition leader of allowing reprobates and perverts with track records of denying and hating women to insert ludicrous allegations into his press statements. The opposition leader said Moultrie had also used homophobic slurs and launched attacks on divorced people, men with foreign wives, as well as attacks on the reputations of the House staff and on a retired public servant. The Speaker has apologized for his words, saying that he acted out of character and said things he should not have.
The events that led to these unfortunate and regrettable set of circumstances found their genesis in my 31st of January 2018 efforts to enforce the rules of procedure and to demand respect for the chair in this honorable House. This resulted in the suspension of the member for Angleston. What followed could not be My wife and I were attacked as I was labeled a misogynist, and my character, integrity, and competence were publicly castigated and or questioned by a former co-worker. Notwithstanding, my response from the chair was not an appropriate response. I am indeed very sorry that it occurred, and that it precipitated the bitterness and resentment that followed.
The Caribbean has seen a record 37 million stay-over visitors in 2017, despite having to battle the effects of the catastrophic hurricanes Irma and Maria. At a media brief on Thursday, Acting Director of Research at the Caribbean Tourism Organization, Ryan Skeet, said visitors contributed $37 billion to the Caribbean economies in 2017. He said that was a 2.6% increase over 2016. This is the 8th consecutive year that the region's tourism sector has seen growth.
To report, we are delighted to report that Caribbean tourism has reached another major milestone, surpassing 30 million stay-over visits and reaching an estimated $37 billion in total visitor expenditure. This good news is despite the devastating September hurricanes. The performance in 2017 was primarily supported by sustained economic growth in all of our major source markets.
The United States continues to be the primary market, growing by about 0.5% to reach an estimated 14.9 million visitors to the region, due mainly to solid economic growth, low unemployment, and high consumer confidence. The Canadian market recorded a 4.3% increase in arrivals compared to a decline of 3.1% in 2016. But the strongest growth was recorded in the European market at 6.2% to 5.8 million visitors, with the United Kingdom up by 2.9% to 1.3 million. The CTO said the economic conditions are expected to be favorable for further growth in 2018, and it predicts growth of 2 to 3% in both stay-over and cruise arrivals. Meanwhile, CTO Secretary General Hugh Riley is calling on the region to stop treating tourism as a casual pursuit. He said building the regional brand as a year-round warm weather destination requires more than sparsely funded activities and ad hoc efforts. Riley said tourism is serious business as it employs more than 13% of the people in the region, contributes up to 40% of gross domestic product, and delivers massive amounts of tax dollars to national treasuries.
Therefore, we should worry when we are not using this job-creating, tax-generating, foreign exchange earning machine to its full potential. We should worry when the rate of occupancy across the region is still below 70%, which means that of every 100 rooms available in the Caribbean, 30 are going empty every night. This tells us that we have an opportunity, in fact, a responsibility, to market ourselves more effectively to improve the quality of our service substantially, to enhance the value of our product significantly, and to fill those empty rooms.
Riley urged countries to institute the tourism satellite account, which will help them track the funds coming from the industry. He says this is critical in helping them understand how these funds filter through to other sectors such as education and health. Riley said though the CTO applauds the 2017 achievements, there is still a great need for countries to market themselves.
This business can truly be the lifeblood of the Caribbean, but we have to treat it more seriously. Now, to be clear, we are thankful for the results which the region achieved in 2017. We have to celebrate our victories, and we do. But unfortunately, there are bigger celebrations occurring in the places that are stealing our market share. Their unemployment rates are falling, their economies are growing, their tourism product gets consistent visibility, and we must go to that point too.
The CTO and the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Organization, the CHTA, will soon roll out a marketing campaign for the region. And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the Grenada government denies it hasn't paid its UN dues. And that story and more after the break. Stay with us.
Experience cricket action like you have never seen it before at the Super 50 Cricket Festival 2018. 43 matches, Antigua and Barbados, 10 teams, an epic 50-over regional battle, a massive showcase of Caribbean cuisine, and a crowning of the Super 50 Cup champion, and one big after party. Calling all cricket fans January 30 to February 24. Come for the action, stay for the vibes. Get your tickets now on the ticketing app, and for more details, go to windiescricket.com.
But today, Bitcoin is cool. What has changed? No, let me start with the boss. Because you're not a journalist, we're going to ask the questions though. But let me start. What has changed? What's the difference today?
Well, today it's more about the notoriety. It's about exposure. You know, we're on this hockey stick curve. You know, Bitcoin started out. Actually, we're celebrating 9 years this week of Bitcoin. The white paper was released in 2009.
The Grenada government is refuting information from the United Nations that it is among countries blocked from voting in the upcoming General Assembly. The UN site says the country lost its rights to vote because it has dues outstanding. But the government says the money was sent over a week ago and it's just a matter of updating the information. We get more in this GBN News report.
Information on the United Nations website says 8 member states that do not have a vote in the 72nd session of the General Assembly are Central African Republic, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Grenada, Libya, Suriname, Venezuela, and Yemen. However, a statement from the Ministry of Finance issued on Tuesday reads, and I quote, with reference to news reports that Grenada has lost its voting rights in the United Nations as a result of unpaid dues, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs assures the nation that on February 5th, 2018, the Permanent Mission of Grenada to the UN dispatched a check to the United Nations Secretariat for processing of Grenada's dues for 2018. In that respect, the ministry expects to see this reflected soon in the UN's information system. Unquote. The statement went on to say that Grenada has not been prevented from exercising its voting rights in the community of nations because the first voting opportunity of 2018 is in June, when Grenada votes in support of candidates for non-permanent membership on the United Nations Security Council. Under Article 19 of the UN Charter, a member state in arrears in the payment of its dues in an amount that equals or exceeds the contributions due for 2 preceding years can lose its vote in the General Assembly.
The Barbados Secondary Teachers Union has given the Ministry of Education an ultimatum to meet over an upsurge in school violence. Following a meeting on Wednesday, the teachers unanimously agreed to give the ministry until next Tuesday to hold talks with them. General Secretary of the Union, Leslie Lett, says the teachers were forced to issue the ultimatum since a promise by the Education Minister 2 years ago to set up a committee on violence in schools had not been fulfilled.
Safety and our security is not a priority of the ministry. There's no two ways about it. For 658 days to elapse after you've been promised a committee shows that you are not a priority. And priorities always reflect values. We are not a priority. 658 days, and we're here on the 12th of February 2018, which should be 656 days after, our husband saying, it is now time to strengthen the security arm in schools. And they are moving swiftly after 658 days. And we are to rest assured about these measures. These measures are secret measures. Ms. Best tells us what measures cannot be put in place. Our husbands tell us what measures, but they're secrets.
There have been at least 3 stabbing incidents since the beginning of the year at secondary schools across the island. And the BSTU President Mary Redmond says, given the increasing level of deviance in schools, the committee is critical to resolving the issue.
The fact that we know that some of our children fear no one. It has to be one that involves stakeholders outside of the traditional areas from which we originally, or historically, I should say, drew our stakeholders from. It has to include, as John was saying, police, social workers, church, union, ministry, community, PTA, all of the persons who can influence what has to be a fundamental change in how so many of our people, especially the young ones, think. Yes, students' councils, for sure.
Over in Guyana, workers from closed sugar estates are again begging the government to reopen the plants. They say as a result of the closure, their livelihoods are deteriorating and their families are falling apart. We get the details in this HGP Nightly News report.
These former sugar workers have all been retrenched by Gaisuku from the Wales, the East Coast and some Berbice estates, whose operations have ceased. Backed by their union GAU, they told reporters that even though they have received their severance, some part of their severance, they actually want jobs, because it's only a matter of time before that severance money vanishes.
The amount of money people receive, they can't afford to invest it, and they can't afford to do nothing, but they have to secure it, to secure yourself. People have children to go to school, they have to live in it. You can't invest it. I live in a rural area. You tell me where can I invest it? In my community right now is totally depressed. People are so frustrated. They don't know what to do. I personally frustrated. Every morning I wake up, I don't know what to do. I can't know, I just got to home, can't even watch television. Because they're frustrated, you can't invest money. I personally invest my money. I'm on the bank. I got to keep it there to live. I mean, up to yesterday, I went till Rose and I look for a job and I get it.
Well, simple like that.
21 years working here, still 17 years being for money. They can't afford.
No, only God could help us at this time.
The retrenched workers have expressed appreciation of the awkward position of the government in the scheme of things, but they are finding it difficult to come to grips with their calamitous situation. They are saying that things are bad, real bad, on the breadline.
I would like the government ministers, let them don't come on these fancy, let them come on a parade, you know. Walk around this village, you know, spend some time within these areas. Sit with the people, come in the community, feel the feelings that the people are feeling.
The retrenched workers want the government to play a more meaningful role to help them cope with their frustration, noting that many NGOs and foreign missions have been looking out for them. But after that severance meeting with the government, the communication lines have been severed.
All you're asking them is to come and see and have a feelings where it hurt most. And nothing hurt a man or a family or a father or a mother is when your kid's going to wake up in the morning and cry. And when you're going to look at them and you can't do anything.
The private sector recently held a job fair in the Wales community, but the workers say the majority of them did not have the required qualifications to be hired. They want the reopening of the non-functional sugar estate.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Jamaica's Bobsled Federation denies there's any quarrel with the makers of the bobsled being used by Jamaica at the Winter Olympics. The details when we return. Stay with us.
Not done in the past prior to when I created the controls that I did, and there wasn't really anything offered at all for a quadriplegic with no hand function and different limited mobility to go out and compete competitively. So from there, sort of looking into different things that I had to do and learn how to create my own set of controls around my own strengths and weaknesses to be able to go out and properly race competitively, essentially.
Oh, wow, that was quick. Oh, there's got to be a big boy right in here, man. There's got to be a big boy. That's a decent fish right there.
Do you feel the sense of urgency to catch a big Larry right now? I do. Are you a betting man? Well, guess what? I am. And Steve Cardillo just bet me $200 that I couldn't catch a bass in the next 3 casts. Steve, that's a bad bet.
Let's cast one. It ain't happening.
We will know them by the fruits that they bear.
What's up, y'all? I'm Keisha Turner, and you're watching Caribbean.
Oh, girl, I'm so attracted to you. Oh, I got something special. Oh gosh, what a bumper. Oh, God, I put a beat on my Insta.
Jamaica's Bobsled Federation president is rubbishing claims of a quarrel between the federation and the makers of the bobsled currently used by Jamaica at the Winter Olympics. Last week, it was reported that both the JBF and the Russian bobsled maker were taking the legal route over a defective sled. But the Federation's president, Christian Stokes, says the matter was a storm in a teacup. As we hear in this report from Denise Walter, the Jamaicans had a more serious matter to deal with one of their coaches walking off the job after being given a new role.
Jamaica's historic two-women bobsleigh team caught the eyes of the world at the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympic Games, but days later, they are catching the headlines for the wrong reasons. News out of South Korea is that Sandra Kyriasis, one of 3 coaches, walked away from the team after being given a new role. TVJ Sports spoke with President of the Jamaica Bobsled Federation from South Korea earlier.
We hired a particular coach to be driving coach, and we have asked her to limit herself to being driving coach. She has attempted to be more than a driving coach, which does not fit in with our team approach, and therefore she has withdrawn herself. But regardless of that, we have tremendous support. Excellent coaches up and down, providing their services.
Kyriasis, an Olympic medalist in 2006, has been working closely with driver Jasmine Fenlater Victorian, but Stokes says her absence won't affect the team.
Well, not at all. I mean, Jasmine has a very good relationship with a number of people. They have been friends, but she's very close to Dudley Stokes, and she has a lot of support from her teammates. So she'll be fine. As a matter of fact, she's more focused. She is in a much better mood since we have refocused the coaching efforts. So all in all, it's been a positive outcome for her.
Reports claim, however, that Curiosity said she had to quit after refusing to change roles from driving coach to track performance analyst, which would have given her no access to the athletes. She also claimed that she is legally responsible for the sled. But Stokes says there is no issue regarding Jamaica's participation at the Games.
Listen, we are in possession of the sled now. The sled is the least of our issues. She claims that it is hers or whatever she's saying, but we have more than enough equipment. There's no issue with the sled.
The team is due to start official training on Saturday before their heats on Tuesday and Wednesday.
A half-century from middle-order batsman Kyle Mayers secured a 3-wicket victory for the Windward Islands Volcanoes against TNT Red Force as action in the regional Super 50 continued on Thursday. Playing at the Windward Cricket Ground in Barbados, Mayers scored a well-played 53 from 48 balls as Volcanoes chased Red Force's target of 254 when they were sent in to bat. Chipping in with Mayers was West Indies wicketkeeper batsman Johnson Charles, who added 48, while Devon Smith scored 37 from 28 deliveries. TNT spinner Sunil Narayan was the pick of the bowling. He captured figures of 4-4-42, while leg spinner Imran Khan picked up 3 wickets for 51 runs. Earlier, Red Force had a solid start. Opening batsman Tion Webster top scored with 58, while captain Dennis Ramden also added a half-century. Both Nicholas Puran and Isaiah Raja chipped in with 34 runs. Right arm off spinner Shane Shillingford captured best bowling figures of 3-4-54, while left arm medium pacer Obed McCoy took 2 wickets for 28 runs. Meanwhile, Andre Russell's unbeaten 100 helped Jamaica Scorpions trounce English County Kent by 3 wickets to go top of Group B on Wednesday. Chasing a competitive 240 for victory at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, Scorpions reached their target with 5 balls to spare, with the right-handed Russell ending on 108 not out of 111 deliveries. Brandon King chipped in with 43 in a 76-run 6th wicket stand with Russell, which pulled Scorpions out of trouble at 57 for 5 in the 15th over. Opener Daniel Bell Drummond had earlier struck an unbeaten 105 as Kent set in raised 239 for 5 of the allotted 50 overs. Wicketkeeper batsman Adam Rouse made 75 not out, but the remainder of the visitors' batting failed to come to grips with the Scorpions' attack. And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Again, the major developments of this day: head of the Islamic Front in Trinidad and Tobago hits out at U.S. security authorities who assisted local police in cracking down on people suspected of planning to disrupt the just-ended carnival festivity. And in sport, Jamaica's Bobsled Federation denies there's any quarrel with the makers of the bobsled being used by the Jamaican team as the Winter Olympics. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KanaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.